watch this live right now. Thank you. At any rate, yeah, Klout's shutting down. And you would say, what's Klout? If you don't know what Klout is, you haven't been online in a while, or for a while, right? But Klout, the idea of Klout, it was established in the social media gulch in San Francisco, and I'll explain what that is in a moment, is to take your activity on Twitter primarily, and then Pounce and the social media platforms of the time, and primarily Twitter really, and measure your Klout score, which is the number of times your tweet was shared, what we call retweeted or liked now. And as the number of platforms and indeed the industry of social media grew, Klout began to add more connections. But the way it scored those connections, hey Barry Lee, how you doing? Uh, are you on Klout, Barry Lee? The way it scored those connections. Oh, by the way, hey Barry Lee, if you're going to tweet this out, which I would appreciate, please use hashtag social media. Thanks. If you, me for example, okay, I had and still have the vast majority of my posting activity on YouTube, but Klout ignored the existence of YouTube. Even if I had a YouTube video that was connected to Twitter, it seemed to actually not pay attention to that. Uh, I'm describing Klout as if it's this artificial intelligence thing that operated on its own, when in reality it had engineers behind it. And those engineers used code to, as every other online engineer does, working on most platforms that are basically consumer used, they design the code to reflect their values. Okay, so if you were the president of the United States, you were Barack Obama, you scored a 100. But if you were someone else that had experience, say, in working as a political consultant, you scored far less. It was that uh, seat of the pants in terms of its scoring. I made note of this in a Chronicle post that I wrote on City Brights way back in, I believe it was 2010, because what bothered me about Klout was that I had, the minute they made an algorithm change, and I apologize candidly, I forgot exactly what that change was, but I wrote about the impact of that change, because it caused, and this was in September of 2009 actually, it caused my score to go down dramatically, like by 10 points. I was in the near 80s, and then it dropped me to, I was in low 70s, 80s. It dropped me to the low 60s, 70s. Okay, and then I went below that for a bit. But the algorithm change was dramatic, and I was used to having a high score, and I complained about it openly. I also mentioned that they didn't have any connection at the time to YouTube. In fact, Klout didn't add YouTube until, get this, 2015. This is 2018, so just 3 years ago. And my Klout score shot up again, as it should have been. So the problem with Klout was that it didn't accurately reflect via score what people were doing in the social media sphere. Uh, However, you would say, well, if that's the case, why did you attach so much importance to it? And the reason is, as the generation advanced and more people came of age in society who were accustomed to social media, the use of platforms like, of course, Facebook most famously expanded, right? And Twitter. Now they're commonplace. What you do on social media, for a lot of employers, potentially like LinkedIn, for example, dictates to what degree they want to hire you for something or not. So if you were, particularly if you were in entertainment, and that's still true today, like if you're an actor or an actress and you had a high Klout score, it reflected the fact that you had a lot of Twitter followers. Now, it didn't, now the problem with Klout was that it would score you high for a lot of followers, right? But it wouldn't score you high for activity. So you could have a lot of activity, but if your followers are far less, your score was like, whatever. People really got upset about that. And the reason they did is because as people came more and more on to social media, the lack of scoring systems to reflect what they were doing was obvious, and yet there sat Klout with the only operating, constantly working scoring system. Sure, it needed to be improved, right? But uh, beyond that, So, when I say it was like the score you got was something to be argued about all the time. So when people are saying, well, gee, we forgot that Klout existed. And I think what happened was that, because I just fired up my old account and I watched my page spin and spin and spin and nothing came up. I don't know if there was some sort of court issue or anything where, oh, hey, how you doing? I'm folks, by the way, if you see this as video on demand, I'm making a live stream, and so occasionally you'll get this, and you'll see this in the comments pop up, someone saying hi, right? So at least you know now. Great thing about YouTube is in the past, like last year or earlier this year when we had the live stream, you couldn't see the comments, but now you can. Anyway, Klout, my page wasn't coming up. I said, let me check and see what's going on here. It just kind of spun and spun and spun and spun and spun. Nothing. So why is Klout shutting down? Klout is to shut down on the 25th of this month, 25th of May. Why? Because Lithium Technologies, which bought Klout for $200 million, woo, in 2014, said that they didn't see a future using the technology, and so they were going to just simply end its use. Prior to that, I think one other organization had observed that personal data privacy issues caused people to use it less and less, which I think is interesting, because why would anyone, I suppose it has to, why would anyone balk at your social media score being collected? But since in order to do that, Klout does reach into your activity, your personal activity, yeah, I could see where there'd be a problem. That's too bad. Really, I think we need to have a great conversation about the future of the evaluation of our activities online, because as I think about it, it's shifted, right? And you would say, no, not right, Zinni, what do you mean? We used to be really concerned about scoring people online, what they did, what their effectiveness was, and that's where Klout, and I like Cred a lot better than Klout. I called Klout Kraut. Excuse me. I like Cred, K-R-E-D, much better than Klout. And the reason is that I believe that their scoring system was much more comprehensive and fair. And of course, higher for me. Let's just be honest. But then, all right, the idea was to have a scoring system for what we did online. Now, the idea is to monitor us for what we do online for security reasons, for fear reasons. What are you posting? Is it inappropriate or not, right? It's like we have one way of looking at this, which is oriented toward evaluating who did what on a scoring system, right? And now we're in the mode of this generation telling people what not to do and what not to say. And you would think that the two should come together. In other words, the better your score, a great score reflects the fact that you're not flaming people online, getting into arguments. If, of course, one scores such things as negative, I would. But if you start thinking about it, the activity behind the problem with one aspect of YouTube, which I love, is that conversations are just, and your ability to generate them are just scored by volume. But what is not scored is the exchange in the type of conversation. And I think that's where YouTube needs to improve algorithmically. Also, with respect to YouTube, people score what they put up by likes. But let's say someone puts up something that, let's say they're African American like me, and maybe someone doesn't like them because they're me because I'm black and they don't want a black voice. So they dislike me. So that means they're disliking me for a reason that's racist. That should not be scoreable. Okay? It shouldn't be. A like or a dislike should simply be equally scored because it's a reaction. So that's it. It shouldn't be, oh, gee, it's a negative reaction and therefore you don't get credit. Okay? But that's what happens in the case of YouTube. If someone likes a video, it gets put on Twitter and it gets boosted. But if they dislike it, nothing happens. What happens is that if they dislike the video, dislike should be registered too. Okay? Hey, I don't like this. Boom. Okay. Put it out there, but you don't like it. Promote it, but you don't like it. Fine. Let other people see what it is you're not liking. It's a reaction. But also, it eliminates the racism aspect. The idea that we're not going to cause you to grow because you're black. We're not going to like you. We're going to dislike you because we know you're not going to grow. Hey, John Marks, how you doing? John Marks says it's something about good neighbor thing. Sorry, John, I didn't. I'm not. My computer's downstairs, so, and admittedly, I need to buy new contact lenses because my eyesight's kind of like, my contact lenses are old, to be honest with you. So I didn't see what you posted. If it were a super chat, if you I hate to say this, if you had paid $2, I'd have done that. Hey, I have to stop this live stream, but I'll be back soon. Actually, you know what? No, I'll be right back. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Yeah, I'm upstairs. No, that's okay. What can I do? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I went to the bank. I'll be done. All right, folks, back. I had to see what help my mom needed, because that's why I'm here. Fortunately, she's great. Now, what I was saying is, first of all, I don't have my computer because I couldn't see your note there. John Marks, I apologize there. But I think you were saying it's about being a new good neighbor. Maybe you could copy, paste that, and repost it. I'll look closely, and I'll strain my eyes to see it like that, right? I'll respond to what you're saying. But I'd like to know your view about the closing of Klout, or if you have a question as to what Klout is or was or its necessity, just say, hey, why is it important to have a Klout score, or any kind of score? Klout, cred, like, what's your cred, right? Again, employers around the United States were using it, the Klout score, to evaluate your ability to do social media, your some people believe that if you were going to get a social media job and you didn't have a Klout score, they shouldn't hire you. Which, if you think about it, really makes a great deal of sense. It also makes sense in terms of trying to find who to work with in terms of as a personality, because you want to know if the personality is going to be active on social media and push your brand, right? There are marketing companies who measure the impact of influencers now, but I would argue that they sort of do this, put your finger to the wind and that sort of thing. There are companies that have evaluation systems. A number of them do. They call it software or service systems. That's what Klout is. In fact, here's a little lesson for you, or a little note. Anytime you see this, how does it go here? S Okay, this. See that? It says, is that software as a service? That's what that means. That's what that means. Okay. And you've probably seen that and thought, what is that if you didn't know before? That's what that means. It's a fancy way of saying, it's another buzzword way of pointing out the operation of something that's been around for now in internet parlance for a long, long time. If you've if you filled out a Klout page and you get a score, that's software as service. It's free, fine. If you have used a platform that automatically makes a PDF from a text or a text from PDF, that's software as service. Any function online that allows you to do something that performs a service for you, that's software as service. That's what Klout has been. So I'm sad. However, and I'm sad for this other reason, that since 2007, 2008, the functions of organizations like Klout have gone underground, behind paywalls. What I mean by that is, now you have to pay a monthly fee if you don't know how to set this up yourself or create your own scoring system or algorithm, right? To a marketing company and use their software service platform to get a Klout type score for someone else or influencers that you're evaluating for your marketing campaign, right? You have to, and that's where you really need to learn coding. You really need to understand how to take an RSS feed and put the RSS feed in, and then maybe you just count up or have a counting device algorithm, a code in how would that be in XML if you're going to do this as a blog post, right? And based on the number of items, and I'm thinking this on top of my head, that are counted, that are posted, it counts that over a time period and it gives a score. I'm just thinking out loud about how you can develop your own scoring system that you don't have to pay for, because the reverse is having to pay, in some cases, $10, $50, $100, $200 for these services, and they're only taking advantage of the fact that you don't know how to build the thing yourself, because hey, they built one, right? It used to be all these services were frickin' free. I remember when I started using Twitter extensively. I've been on Twitter since 2007. Went to the Twitter launch party at Mighty in San Francisco's nightclub. Then started using it really extensively in 2008, 2009. I've discovered something called Trendistic. Trendistic was the coolest software service platform ever developed specifically for Twitter. Why? Because it analyzed, if you stuck in a keyword, it analyzed the trend. You could figure out exactly when whatever keyword on Twitter was used started being used years back. It was that powerful. It was freaking powerful, folks. You could use it to anticipate what keyword was going to trend next. I loved it. Okay. Then, you know what? In 2010, 2011, 2010, they took it away. Gone. I don't know where it is. And then prior to that, Twitter was threatening to make all code changes so that Trendistic didn't work properly. In fact, they did. So there were times when Trendistic was shut down, and then they would go back and talk to Twitter and say, please, baby, please, 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 please give me access again. And they would get access and everything was, going again, right? Too bad. You would say, why did that happen? Because we like Twitter and we established, and like it to this day, and we established a lot of importance to Twitter. That's why. So of an era. 2007 to what? 2018. Klout. Twitter. The rise of Facebook, which really started in 2004. Okay. And the death of Pounce, which was started by Leah Culvert, who sold Pounce to Six Apart, and then Six Apart shut down Pounce. That was years ago. That was back in 2007. Okay, I met Leah 2008. I met Leah 2007 at a tech cocktail party that was hosted by Owen Thomas when he was the editor of Valleywag. He's now with the Chronicle, somewhere around there. Anyway, he's buzzing around somewhere. Fun place, fun time at Moose's restaurant, legendary San Francisco restaurant in Washington Square that is now a thing of the past. That's sad. All right, enough of me, folks. I'll see you later. It's been on for 21 minutes. Have any questions about Klout? My email is zinni@zinni62.com. Farewell to Klout, May 25th. If you find another platform out there that's like Klout that you think no one knows about, let me know about it. I'll talk about it, okay? I'll see you all. Thanks again. And thanks for the thumbs up, whoever out there did that. Thank you. I'll see you.